I'm excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter podcast. I have one of my friends, Tom Alascio, here on the podcast to share about some of the things he's doing. But like most importantly, Tom has been such a community builder within the recruiting space. He is constantly giving and helping other recruiters out. Every week he holds a roundtable in the different recruiting groups. He's like always giving his input, always giving answers and helping out other recruiters. So I wanted to bring him on to talk about up-leveling the community, giving back to the community, but also like his background, he's got a really good story about how he has gotten successful. And on top of this, like, yeah, Tom, you're having might be one of your best years ever this year.
And best year is independent, like on my own terms. So yeah, I could max. We did in 2001, right? Which was 636,000 when I did an MRI office. So I could exceed that this year. But yeah, my best year is owning the firm.
And that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on to chat is like, it's been a very interesting, unique, challenging year in recruiting, but you've found ways to win. But before we dive into all that, the number one question that we get started with, how did you even end up in the recruiting space?
So, so I was bartender. I love bartending. Still will get to bartend. I think it's the greatest job in the world. If I can make the kind of money I make as a recruiter, as a bartender, I'd probably bartend. And maybe one day I'll retire and bartend on the beach somewhere. So I always get customers come in saying, "Hey, you're gonna come work for us," and I was like, "Hey, get another drink. Yeah, we'll talk about it." Never really took them seriously. Stockbrokers, a guy owned a jewelry store, whatever. And then guys owned, or a couple that owned a management recruiter's office came in, said, "Hey, we want you to work for us." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. What do you do?" We're headhunters. And to liken back to when I was in 1986, I used to work at CVS, and one of the bosses there, their husband was a headhunter. And I thought it was so cool name. And that was the first time I ever heard it. I was 17 years old, headhunter. Wow. Never thought about it again until my bar. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. So I went and they said, stop by the office. Come on by and say hi. So I came in and say hi and talked to them. And then I went back for an interview and they hired me October 13th, Columbus Day was my first day of starting. And the rest kind of is history. I mean, it was just really intriguing to go from bartending to this, but um, I love what I do and I love bartending. So I had to make it work. I had to work 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, right, as a headhunter, and then I had to work as a bartender because I had bills and a wife and a kid and everything. So I bartended from 5 until close, which could be 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday through Sunday, and then headhunted Monday through Friday, 3 months, right? 3 months. I did it, no day off, and just pounded the phones, do what I was supposed to do. And my first deal with a paint company, division of Sherwin-Williams. And my boss came to me and says, "Hey, you figured it out. We'll double your draw," which was minimum wage. And I said, "Well, I can, that might help, but I can't leave my old company, my bartending job, high and dry. It was an oceanfront restaurant. It was middle of season. So I'll work weekends. And then once things get slow down, I'll eventually leave completely." And that's kind of where it went.
That's awesome. So were you doing a 360 then, or was it just a 180 desk?
And it's on yeah, no, I've never done, 180 until recently, but it's always 360, right? So every morning you get up, you get sitting on the phone, and I make 50 phone calls to hiring managers with my MPC saying, "Hi, I just interviewed this great guy. He's a project manager and he wants to move to Phoenix. When would you like to interview him? Monday at 4 or Tuesday at 3. And then, I did that for a month and a half, right? Because I didn't have any job orders to work on, and finally got a couple job orders. And then, so my day was split up, in the morning, marketing the MPC, go to lunch, come back. And then the rest of the day was spent recruiting on the jobs that I had. Right. And then, you get candidates from the jobs you're recruiting on. Now you're going to do MPC, and, that desk is a manufacturing plant. You got to get job orders and you got to get candidates. And I did that and slowly but surely grew my desk into what it is now. So in my first place, it was a painting guy. The MPC that I was marketing was a guy named Mike Benavenga from Chicago. He was a project manager in commercial roofing and wanted to move to Phoenix. Right. So I'm calling every commercial roofing. I haven't done a deal with a commercial roofing contractor in 20 years. So it was weird where I started and where I am now. But the niche that I'm in now, which is kind of like engineered products, construction, structural engineering related to manufacturing related to that, I've been in that industry since February of 1998. I made 2 deals with a company and exploded from there. So I've stayed in that same niche, that same industry, that same market since 1998.
So, like taking a step back, so you got started, you cut your teeth on in an MRI franchise.
Mhm.
Where'd you go
Fully
from there?
trained. No, I stayed there for 14 years,
Mhm.
helped build that up. We did $4.5 million in billings for like 3 years in a row. We had 16
Awesome.
recruiters. I helped train. You talk about 365, 180. I helped train what we called project coordinators. Were junior recruiters that would work underneath of us. I would go out and get all the business. I'd work on some of my jobs, and I'd also have the junior recruiter recruiting for me, right? So they would, that was a team. We had this team environment, right? You had to do 450 grand on your own before you could get your own project coordinator. So we built an office with, I think we had 10 recruiters, all working within the construction divisions, right? So we had roofing, general contracting, concrete, electrical, mechanical, and then we had 5 or 6 project coordinators, and we were doing like $4 million. And then the economy, we had a recession. We made it out of the dot-com recession, kind of okay, but the housing recession devastated the office, and the boss went crazy and fired people. And when I left in April of 2011, I was the very first employee hired in 1998 or 97. And I was the last employee working there 2011. So he built it to
Wow.
16 people and then ran everybody off. And I tried to stay as long as I could because I had so much invested. I built the ATS there and a lot of other things. And then
Oh man.
I had phantom stock worth like 10 grand. It was going to be worth a lot more when they sold the company back when we were doing $4 million a year. And finally I said, I can't do this anymore. And I bolted.
Oh man.
So it was 14 years, 1997 to 2011. Is that 14? Yeah, it's 14. That I worked for them and helped build that office.
And construction, I actually, if you want to go off, my first recruiting job was a construction management headhunter in Florida back in 2006. Everything was gangbusters.
Oh, and 2 years later.
It wasn't even 2 years. I don't even think it was like 2 years later. It was just like, maybe it was like 9 months later. It was just like, I started getting call after call, like, we just got let go. And I'm like, "You let go? Like, what'd you do? What'd you do? Were you shoved drunk to the job? Like, they needed just somebody that was breathing." And it was just like call after call. It's just everybody was getting fired. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, crap.
Somebody turned off project stop. It was the craziest thing. Like you said, overnight, we went from gangbusters to every project putting on hold, and every candidate told you to go pound sand was banging your phone. Well, please, please, please help me. It was insane. Mike Kittleson is probably who you ran into. He was the Florida recruiter for K Baskin International, was doing $2 million a year in Florida as a recruiter.
Wow.
And all he worked every construction. So he did general contractors all the way down to subcontractors, but only in the state of Florida. And I remember
Wow.
talking to him at one of the MRI meetings going, yeah, dude, we went from 2 million to 500,000. I had to fire 3 recruiters.
Yeah.
And it was a
Luckily,
tough year.
luckily, I was able to switch over to aviation and government contracting, but it was just like, I'm sitting there looking at my desk, and of course, everybody's like looking at my numbers, and I'm just like, I'm making the calls, I'm doing the things that you're telling me to do. Like,
I feel bad for some of the guys in IT and tech right now because they feel like, the same things happening, and you have to be more selective. And that's what, I still did 250-ish, 300 in those really bad years, but it was, because I was in the same industry. Right. And I had clients who knew me, and if they wanted to fill a position quick, they would call me, or, locations that were tough to fill, stuff like that. Right. And I worked a lot longer hours and a lot harder to make less money, but I still made a 6-figure income. It was just tough. It was that 2008, 2009 was tough years.
well, and I want to kind of like focus on that for a few minutes. 2020 was like crazy. 2023 is like some industries it's like the recruiting market's absolutely crazy. What lessons did you learn from those ups and downs during those other 2 recessions that you could give some advice to recruiters now?
You know, um, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but what it comes down to is going back to the basics. When Tiger Woods was having these struggles, he started back to the basics. Go back and think about what you did in the beginning to be successful, and start working towards that. Right. And the other thing is, if your niche is, and I don't know anything about IT, and I know a lot of people are struggling in IT, but if you're in IT, like where does an allied field to IT like go one over or one over? Cause that's a lot what right. So I was in, my niche was very narrow at one time, and I started working out towards industries where the person would be able to make a transition from the light gauge steel industry to the joist and deck industry, right? Or from the joist and deck industry to the steel tower industry, right? So a lot would do with engineers, and there was I could see a lot of across this area where the training time would be quick. So one industry was doing bad, the other one was doing better. You just move into that niche. So when things got tough, I got back on the phone, was making 50 phone calls in the morning, and it didn't matter, right? So when I started out, I didn't know what I was doing. So making 50 phone calls a day with a stupid pitch about a guy who was a project manager in Chicago wanting to move to Phoenix, he wasn't an NPC. They had to relocate him. That's not an NPC. But I still made 50 phone calls a day. And we kind of got stuck into this. Well, I'm really good. I shouldn't have to do that. Well, no, when the work is tough, get back on the phone and I know you don't want to. I know it's painful and it hurts that you're going to make 50 phone calls a day, but do that. You can't get anywhere if you're not talking to people, and you're going to uncover. We talk about this as a numbers game until you get the skills, and then it's a skills game, but you can't use your skills if you don't have the numbers, right? So it's a balance. You have to say to yourself, if you're not making if you're not making 5 phone calls a day, then you're not getting business, right? So yeah, you don't have to make 50 anymore. Right now, I don't. But if things got tough, I'd be back on the phone, man, calling every single person, just letting them know that I'm there, calling new employers, because you're going to stumble on, oh yeah, we had this position open for 6 months. We can't find anybody because it's in Norfolk, Nebraska. Well, guess what? I'm going to go out there and find somebody to move to Norfolk, Nebraska because I want to eat. And you're not going to get the easy fills. Maybe not going to get full fee. You're going to pay 25%, or maybe you have to go down to 20. You're not going to get engagement fees, but you're going to pay the bills. And that's all what it ever came down to is I worked on anything I could in those tough times because I needed to make money. I had kids, wife, and everything. So it's getting back to those basics. It's looking at your desk and going, where can I make a placement? Everybody, no, yeah, they're not paying fees. Yeah, they're laying people off, but they still are hiring people. And there are still places where they cannot find anyone. And you got to get your foot in that door. And it's not by sending out a campaign of 1,000 emails. This is a relationship business, and you cannot develop a relationship without talking to the person on the phone. You can't overcome objections with rebuttals. If you're not on the phone, you can't do that. You can't overcome an objection of we don't pay 50%, or we don't pay 30% of the email, right? That's something that has to be done on the phone. You're not going to make an impact if you're not on the phone. I use the term Yale or jail or mad or glad. When I'm on the phone with someone, I want it, and I hang the phone up. I want that person to be happy they were talking to me or mad they were talking to me. I don't want them to be like, meh, right? I want them to remember me. If I call you back in 10 days and you don't remember who I am, I failed as a recruiter. An impression on you of who I was. If I get, who's this? Thomas Alascio? Who? I'm a headhunter. I talked to you. When? I failed. If I do that, I call someone and that's what they say to me, I know I failed because I didn't make that impact. And you have to make that impact. You have to, get out there and develop that relationship. It's a relationship business.
And, I think you really nailed it on the head of getting back to those fundamentals and back to those basics in tough times.
Well,
Because at the end of the day, like, if you're only making 3 calls and nothing's coming from those 3 calls,
it's a numbers game until it's a skills game, but the skills game, you still have to have some numbers. And if that's, I still make marketing calls, but very select, right? Because my industry's strong. We got lots of job boards to work on, but I still make marketing calls. I still gotta keep my skills, man. I gotta keep myself, you work out, right? I'm a fat ass now, but if you want to stay in shape, you got to work out. You run every day, right? If you don't run, you lose it. Same thing with recruiting. You gotta use those skills or you're going to lose it. So don't ever, if anyone tells you I have too many jobs to work when I can't get any more business, you're wrong. Maybe it's one new job order a month. Got to keep those skills going.
absolutely love that. And is there anything else that you've learned through those ups and downs
Nothing
that you
lasts forever. And what, no, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I mean, I like, this is, my wife will get upset sometimes, right? Like, we'll, a bad year, right? Cause when we started out, look, I'll tell you, I had a car repossessed, right? And times are tough, right? So, yeah, but I tell her, we always have a roof over our head. We'll always have food, right? So, bad stuff's always going to happen, but we're not going to be living under a bridge, right? We're not going to be, it's never going to be that bad. You just have to keep focusing and figuring it out. And if you do what you can do, you've done this. I've done this for 26 years. I know I can do this. I know I'll always be able to make placements. I'll be 79 years old in a wheelchair. You want to hear my, like, I can always make placements, and I will, that is something that I 100% believe in. If I just keep moving forward, I will make placements. I will get a check in. I will make money. Never have to worry about that. You just have to have that mindset. There is no failure. There is no failure.
And you said you got your car repossessed. I know one of the times, like, I don't remember when exactly it was in my agency recruiting days, but like my numbers went downhill and, I had to go, like things were not looking bad. I think I also like my car broke. I didn't even have a car. So I was taking the bus to the office every day without anybody knowing. Um, I don't ever want to go through those again, but talk about the resiliency that you learned during those time periods.
The resiliency. I mean, I don't know if I can answer that the way you probably want it answered. It's really, I truly believe if I will, buddy of mine, he's a silent partner in the business, Dimitri. We figure stuff out. No matter what, we always figure it out. You just because there's no other option, right? You have to look at it like there's no option. I'm not going to go sell cars, right? I'm not going to go work at a school. I make way too much. There's no other job I can do that I can make the kind of money that I make that quick, right? So you always guys, well, how about I'll go get a job just till things get better. No, it's never going to be enough. And if you're going to take all that energy and focus on learning how to sell cars or learning how to, sell widgets or whatever, go focus that on recruiting because you know it. You know this industry. You know how to do this job. That's the only resilience I can tell you, Ben, is that there is no failure. There is no giving up. I'm just going to keep making phone calls. And if I have to switch industries completely one day, maybe I will, right? If they outlaw structural engineering, right? I'll figure out something else because I can do this in any industry. I can go into any industry. It may take me a little longer to go into, I don't know, bottle washing, but I'll still figure it out.
Of it.
We're good at it.
There's no plan B.
No, I burned that bridge a long time ago. I can never go work for another person again. My God, I'm the worst employee in the world now. I should have fired myself a long time ago, right? You think somebody's going to put up with my dumbass? No way. There is no plan B.
Well, here's another question for you. Like, what really convinced you to really just go out on your own?
So it goes back to the old firm, right? So I gave that firm 110%, right? Helped them hire. I got paid the same as everybody else. You got 35% of the first 150 grand to bring in, 40% of the next 50, and then 50% of everything over 150,000. Didn't matter how long you'd been there, whatever. And there was no raises. There was no extra commissions. There was nothing. We had pay center trips. Everybody could win, but it didn't matter to me because I wanted the business to grow. Just like you hear me giving back, I gave back to all the employees. I mentored people. I was always about, we're going to build Pearson they would come with Pearson to 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. So I was in it 110%, right? I trained people, did everything to make that company happen. And then when things started going downhill and he went crazy, I was firing people and running people off. And I was the last employee left. All this time invested and nothing to show for it. Nothing whatsoever. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to build him up again to have nothing to show for it. So I had a non-compete agreement. I had to be 100 miles away. And he tried to say that I signed a new one when I signed up. When I went to work for them, they were MRI office. And that used to be, the non-competes were always 100 miles because long distance phone calling was super expensive. For you who are listening that are 20, we used to pay like 10 cents a minute for phone calls. So all the management recruiter offices were in big cities and they only recruited in that city. And then as rates started to drop, they started moving to rural areas like where I was, but we still were paying like 5-6 cents a minute for long distance calls. Like we get a phone bill and like this big. My non-compete was based on that old way of life. And I had signed it when I first started in 97. And then as we grew, they changed the non-compete into industry specific. And I never signed a new one, but I signed my handbook, and you tried to say that I did. So I just said, screw you. I'm sticking with the 100-mile radius. And I didn't know anybody in Georgia, right? Which is 100 miles from Bureau. I moved to Virginia and started my own business that way. Because if I was going to do this, I was just, and I did it with $16,000 total. That was my my 401k you had already borrowed against to pay bills because things were tough. And that was all the money I had in the world. And I left my wife and kids and horses and dogs and car payments and went all the way up to Virginia, slept on the floor of my ex-brother-in-law. He's divorced my sister. We're still friends. I slept on his floor. And I worked, pounded the phones with Google Sheets, Google Voice, a borrowed laptop, right? And I made a deal with Kingspan panels in 3 weeks for $18,000. Got that check in. I gave him $1,000 fast pay discount. Got that check in a week. And the rest is history. There were some tough times in there, but there was no failure. Like when I went up there on April 1st, there was no failure. I had to make a deal in 30 days because my bills were $12,000 a month. I had to make money. So that's when you say there's no plan B. I was up there and I was making, and I just started pounding the phones. I actually got a bartending job at night because I was bored. Helped the guy open a Greek restaurant, and I did up all his liquor and everything for him because I was bored out of my mind because my kids were home. I worked till 6, go bartend for him for 4 hours, and then drive back to me. And he tried to sue me. He sent letters, told one of my best clients, the guy I used to go out to coffee with, that I was cheating on my wife, that I was a drug addict, and I had stole money from him and a bunch of other crap. And then they sent a letter to every single else of my clients that if they used my services, they would be in contempt of court and they would be sued. And every single one of my clients, except for 2, said, what? None of this guy. And then there's other 2 clients. Within a year, I got him back.
So pause. You built an entire company pretty much, or you helped somebody build an entire company up. You did the training, you did the recruiting, you didn't get paid more for the hope of when it finally cashed out.
He said that we would be able to buy it from him. Me, Jimmy, and 2 other recruiters were going to buy it from him one day, and he would be around to mentor us. Like I always looked at it like an engineering firm or a law firm is kind of how I wanted to, and that's how I wanted to run collaboration. That's another story, but that's what I was trying to tell Dave is like, we can run this. Paralegals don't make as much as lawyers, right? Junior partners or junior lawyers don't make as much as the partners. Why can't we run our firm like this? And it was him and I were bashing his the whole time, but I still wanted to build the business. And you're right. And then when things went south, I got nothing.
You got nothing, but I want the part I want to focus on is you completely drove to a faraway place. You slept on a family member's floor. You rented a small office. You just pounded the phones until you made the deal, until everything changed and you got your life back again with your own business.
There's no plan B. I know, and I've always had confidence in myself that I can make placements no matter what, no matter how bad things get. I can always make placements. And I also know this is cliche, right? But I've had this thing on my door, and it's funny now. You miss 100% of the shots you never take. Like Michael Jordan said that, or Wayne Gretzky said that. I had that on my door before when I was a bartender, right? Because I take more chances than you could honestly, drive my wife crazy. I will reach for the fence on everything. I take ridiculously huge chances on stuff, like leaving my family in Florida. And I was making $150,000 working at Peterson, right? I could have stayed and had a nice, I had benefits and $150,000 easy making that. I left all that behind with $16,000 total cash I had on me and drove all the way up to Virginia to start this company. That's huge. That's a huge risk. How many people are willing to take that? My wife has epilepsy and diabetes, and she has medication she has to be on. That's without insurance. That's thousands of dollars. I got 3 kids. Without insurance, that's thousands of dollars. But I was not going to do that for someone else again. I wasn't going to build him up again, bring in new people, get up to $4 million and have nothing to show for it. I had to take the chance. And that's what people won't do. They won't take the chance.
And for any recruiters listening, what advice would you give to them when they're thinking about betting on themselves?
You miss 100% of the shots you never take. And if you're young, you don't have any bills, or you're living at home, or maybe you got, your total nuts $4,000 a month or whatever. What do you have to lose? You got nothing to lose, especially if you're young. If you're a young guy and you're thinking about doing this, you're a young gal, you got to be politically correct, right? You have nothing to lose. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You go out and you give it 110% and it's just not for you. And you go back to selling cars or bottle washing or whatever it is, right? You have nothing to lose. And I had everything, right? I was 30 some years old with 3 kids and a wife and a house and car, and we have 3 horses. My daughters are equestrian. I had all that to lose if I didn't make deals. You know how expensive horses are? Right? So if I can do it, and I'm dumbass, I didn't barely graduate high school, did not go to college. I'm not smart, but I didn't give up, right? I did. And here's another thing too, fail my way first or fail our way first. I don't, if you're getting training, like we used to say that at Management Recruiters, when I would train new people, I'd say, look, earn the right to do things your way and fail our way first. If you follow our training to the number, you will succeed in spite of yourself, but you have to follow. Yeah, you can't think this is stupid. This doesn't work. This doesn't make sense. Fail our way first. If you do all the stuff we tell you to do and you fail, then come and tell us that we're wrong. But 99% of the people who listen to us and follow the directions and failed our way first always succeeded. Some were great recruiters. Some only did $200,000 a year. But if you do $200,000 working where I worked, you made $80,000. Now that was in 2001, 2002. That's a lot of money then. Not as much now, right? But back then, I always tease. There are a lot easier jobs to do for 60 or 70 grand a year than this. If you can only make 60 grand, go do something else, right? This is a job where you should be making a 6-figure income, but fail our way first and earn the right to do things our way. And you have
Awesome.
nothing to lose. If my dumbass can do it, you can do it.
I cannot wait to cut this up. There's so much good stuff to share in this. So flipping over to giving back to the community, like you're huge in giving back. Talk about that.
I want us all to elevate. First of all, this is the only industry, the only service that people will do for free in hopes of getting paid down the road. Okay. No company gives their books to 3 accountants and say, whoever gets the accounting done first gets paid. Why are we doing that? Right. So I'm always pushing, get paid for recruiting, get an engagement fee, $3,000, $5,000, get paid for the search that you do, and then get paid when you fill the position. Don't expect people to work for free. And the next thing is I want us all to elevate. There's no competition. We're all in this together. There's more than enough jobs. There's more than enough industries. There's no reason to hide the little secrets if I have them. I want everyone to do better. I have a quote in my email. It says, help everyone around you get what they want and you'll get everything you want. And that's true. If I just help everyone, it'll all come back. Whether it's, I tell my daughter this, as a bartender, help it. She's a bartender now, runs in the family, right? I get everything that if you help everyone around you get what they want, you'll get everything you want. And that means everyone gets a drink, you get big tips, right? If you're a grocer, right? Everyone put their stuff in bags and put it in the car. Your boss is going to be happy. You're going to get, it's all it is. Just help everyone around you get what they want and you'll get everything you want. And that's how I look at life in my personal, professional, everything. I go on Facebook, Discord, wherever it is. And somebody asks a question. If I can answer it, I will say, this is what I would do. I don't say this is the right way or the wrong way. Some things I will, right? But most things I'll say, this is what I would do and why it worked for me. How can I help you get up to that level? What can I do to help you? Because it's all about help. We're here for what? It's not any amount of time. There's no reason to not help each other.
And
That's
for the
hippie
listener,
liberal thing.
and for the listeners, I would definitely try following Tom on Facebook. He literally, I love when he kind of chimes in, gives some advice because it's always on point.
I also want to add, I'm sorry. And I mean, they're
Okay.
approachable. I would go to these MRI meetings and these big billers would come, right? Kay Bassman, Rice Cohen, right? And give these big, but they never felt approachable. I never felt like they go up and start talking to them. It took a while. And you think me, I can talk to anybody. They always felt, I want to be approachable. Call me anytime. 772-532-9785. Call me anytime. Send me an email. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Hit me up on Facebook. Join the Discord. Ask to come to the meeting. I'm approachable. I'll answer. If I can't take your call, I'll just say, I can't take your call. I'll call you later. I want to help everyone. I want us all to elevate, and I want to be approachable. I don't want anybody to think, oh, you can't call Tommy a snob. That's the last thing I want to hear. And I want all of us around us, all the other big billers listening, you're listening to this, be approachable. Help those around you. That's how we're going to get better. That's how we're going to turn this industry into from a transactional, uh, right below used car dealers into the same level as lawyers and accounting firms and consulting firms. That's where we should be. We are just as important as their accountants. We are just as important as their attorneys. We provide them human capital, and we should be recognized as such, but we don't. Too many of us think, oh, I need to work with contingent. No, you are important to the company, and act like it, and let elevate everyone to have that same attitude.
Awesome. And for the listeners, Tom also holds a weekly roundtable where it's a lot of big billers, top billers get together. Everybody asks questions, answers questions. And that, like, I'll have a link for that in the show notes. So that way you can, like, if you want to jump in in a future week.
Everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome. Friday, 12:30 Eastern. We discuss everything from NPC marketing to engagement fees to AI to what's new in the industry, your best training manuals, everything. I mean, there is no topics that are off limits recruiting wise. We'll talk about everything, and we'll answer questions. There are guys who are billing way bigger than me that are on there. There are newbies that are on there. There are dinosaurs like Ernie Moreno in the industry. We're trying to get guest speakers. We had Rich Rosen on to talk about focus, right? To talk about focus. I'd love to get somebody like Dean DaCosta or who's the other guy that does the SSAR thing. Get him on and talk about sourcing, right? Because that's a lot of people, they always ask me about sourcing. So I'd love to get some other, you could come on and talk about podcasting, right? Like I'm not a big, like I guess my YouTube's a podcast now, right? But I'm not a big podcasting guy. But you could, I think that's great if someone wants to start a podcast about their industry or their recruiting too. Those are ways to get you out there, ways to get people to look at you and go, I want to work with that guy because he does this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, no, definitely be happy to. I could talk about the tech that you could do that.
Brian
do this.
Fink, sorry, Brian Fink. That's what I was saying. I like Brian Fink.
If you want a good laugh, I just got done with an interview with Brian Fink.
Great guy.
40 minutes ago.
Yeah. I mean, just like he's got the CSS builder custom search engine. I mean, and he gives it away for free. I mean, just great guy, Brian.
What's so cool is like you have your roundtable that you host. He actually has an open door on Fridays. It's like, I love that both of you guys just like give back to the community like you guys do.
Again, we're all trying to elevate one another, right? That's what it comes down to.
So what I flip over to, talking about business development. Do you have any business development secrets that can help recruiters out right now?
So, we the shameless plug of the roundtable. We just did a really good NPC business development roundtable like 3 weeks ago. And there's 4 things. And I think I posted one on Facebook recently, and then I posted all of them on Reddit. Because I'm active also on Reddit as well as the Discord. So NPC marketing is one that we all know, like NPC. But I have one I call the assumptive open, right? And that is, it doesn't work as well if your industry isn't strong. But if you're new, this is a great one in an industry where there's a low unemployment rate, like construction. Right? You want to go into construction? This is great. Ben, hi, my name is Thomas Alascio. You and I have spoken before. I just got done a search for XYZ Construction in Chicago. And we were looking for a project manager. We just filled it. We heard you guys were looking for a project. There's rumors you guys were looking for a project. The reason for my call is wanted to see if that rumor was true. And if it is, help you fill it. Right. And it's a little more nuanced than that. But what you're doing is you've just bragged something you really want to do without bragging. Right. You've just said, I'm in your industry. I work with a competitor of yours. I just found them a person you're trying to find. And I did it quick. And I also heard, as I got my ear to the rail, that you're looking for someone. So that guy, instead of, I got this great candidate, right? Or I got these leftovers that I want to charge you full price for, like Trisha said, instead of the wedding, like I love that part in her thing on yours, is that you're like, I'm in this industry and I know what's going on. I want to help you. And it starts a conversation. And what people don't forget is every time you're on the phone, it's just not about getting a job order or recruiting a candidate. There's 5, 6, 7 objectives that you can achieve on every phone call, right? If they tell you, whenever they tell you, you can go to the next thing. If you can't recruit the candidate, have you heard about any other jobs out there? Has any other recruiters called you, right? Does your company pay fees? Does your company use recruiters? Does your company have any openings? Let's connect on LinkedIn. If you call a potential client, he says, we don't have it. If I do the assumptive opening, he says, you don't have the opening. I go, oh, maybe it was the wrong division. One of your other divisions that need a guy like that, you know? And then oh, well, maybe, do you guys pay fees? Do you guys use recruiters? Who do I talk to at that division? And what about you? Would you consider making a change? Right? Have you got called by any recruiters lately trying to get you to leave? What company was that for? Every phone call you make, you can get all that information. And the last thing you should do is connect with them on LinkedIn. And that goes back to my mad or glad. When you start doing that stuff, they're going to remember you because no other recruiter does it. Every other recruiter, they'll pitch the candidate, say he's not interested. You'll ask them if you know anybody else. They say no. You'll say, oh, let's connect on LinkedIn. And then you'll hang up. That's it. But if you stay on the phone, try to overcome the objection of I'm happy where I'm at. Well, I didn't call you because you were happy where you're at. If you're unhappy, you call me. I called you because I have an opportunity in your backyard. It's better than the one you have. It's going to cut down. You're going to put more money in your pocket. And I assumed you'd want me to tell you about it since it's better than the one you have now. Right? That's the quick off the cuff rebuttal I use whenever someone says to me, I'm happy where I'm at. I didn't call you because I thought you were happy or unhappy. If you're unhappy, you call me. Just like an employer says, we don't have any openings. I didn't call you because I thought you had an opening. I'm calling you because I have a candidate who's head and shoulders better than anybody you have on your team. He's working for a direct competitor. He's your number one sales guy. He could hit the ground running the day he starts with you. That's at least worth the price of admission to talk to him, don't you think? Any smart employer can't, most smart employers, if you do have those goods, they're going to talk to you. And even if they don't, then you roll into, okay, it's fine. I understand, Bill. You don't have any openings. Can't use this guy. Is there any divisions that have any openings? Do you guys use recruiters? How do we get on that list? How about you? You recruit the guy you're talking to. He may want to move. He may be an FBC. You may have a job order you don't know about. But if you don't know, if you don't ask, right? Pick up the phone and call people. If you're disturbed, you can always apologize later. We're in the business of bothering people, right? And we can always apologize. Also, don't ask, how are you today? I used to smack the recruiters in my office back in the head if I heard them say that. Nobody cares how they are. You don't care how they are. I don't care how you are, right? And every other cold caller does that. What you say is say, hi, Ben, it's Thomas Alascio. I know you're busy. I'll be brief. You're respecting their time. I'm a headhunter. I specialize in your industry, blah, 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 blah. But I know you're busy. I'll be brief. I don't give a shit how you feel today. You don't care how I feel. But I do respect your time. And I know you're busy. So I will be brief to tell you about this great opportunity or this great candidate or whatever it is. Stop asking people how they are. Respect their time and say, hi, Ben, this is Thomas Alascio. I'm a spin form, a headhunter, specialized in engineering. I know you're busy. I'll be brief. I recently interviewed a candidate who does blah, 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 blah. You're going to get a lot more out of that than every other recruiter that says, hi, Ben, this is Thomas Alascio. How are you today? Did I catch you at a time where you could talk? Is now a good time? Right? Is that every single recruiter? Tell me it's not. Tell me if every recruiter says that, right? Yep. You got to be different, right? If I'm on a candidate, oh, plays rugby. I'm going to bring up rugby. I play rugby. I'm a hooker. What are you? Right? Plays football. I'm a Ravens fan. Oh God, we can't talk. What do you mean? I guess you're Pittsburgh. I kick your butt all the time. They laugh. That's how they remember you. The conversations has to have some little bit of a personalness to it. So they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? Kind of thing. Right? So every phone call I get on, I know something about the person I'm talking to. One little thing. And they're so easy to laugh about where you went to school versus where I went to school, right? Or which college team you don't like, or which football team or sport. Those are little things you see on their LinkedIn and tell me when you're making a phone call and you see that they went to Clemson and you could tease them about Clemson versus Auburn or Georgia Tech versus Georgia Bulldogs or whatever it is. Those are little things that take me past I'm happy where I'm at. Those are the little things that push me to the next level. And always have.
So MRI, I think, and I never went through an MRI. I was Aerotech. at the beginning of my career.
So, I'm sorry.
When you talk about billing and like what you actually make versus what you bill,
Yeah.
like every time people talk about that, I'm like, yeah, I know. That's also why I'm not there anymore. But MRI across the board has like their training has produced some incredible people.
Absolutely.
But the problem is not everybody had access to that MRI training. Where can a recruiter learn about some of these fundamental basics that come off like as natural for you? Like, where can they learn this stuff?
I think so. Kate, I don't want to give a shameless plug. No money is involved in this, but they have the foundations of what managed recruiters do. KBAS International, KBIC, has next level exchange training. They used to have a thing called the Foundation Training System, and it's fantastic. It is the original MRI with their extra stuff added to it. A lot of engagement because we were all contingency back in the day, right? We were never direct recruiting. I didn't learn how to direct recruit. I learned how to like you would call a guy up and go, "Hey, I got this great job. Do you know anybody that fits it? I respect your experience in the industry. Do you know any guys that fit this?" Right? After 3 days of doing that, I'm like, "This is dumb." I threw it away and direct recruited. I didn't. I actually told my boss, I'm like, "I'm not asking people who they know. I'm going to direct recruit them. If they're good, why would I direct recruit them?" Anyway, so they have the foundations of MRO. I don't, but they changed their whole platform. It's a lot more expensive than it used to be. So I don't know what they have now, but if you're a new recruiter, you're willing to invest a couple grand, look at the next level exchange foundation training, and they have access to all what they call their video vault. It's all they bought all the MRI videos. Bob Marshall's, Your Desk is a Manufacturing Plant is fantastic. Steve Spencer's The Nevers of Recruiting is really good. Those are all in the video vault, right? So you can get access to all of that. The second one is Steve Finkel. He's old, right? His stuff, if you Breakthrough is my favorite book, and I still use rebuttals and information from Breakthrough today. On the phone today, stuff that I learned from Finkel's Breakthrough, from Finkel's videos. He sells all that on his website. He uses terms like Rolodex and file cabinet, right? That's how old the stuff is. But the meat and potatoes is there. And you will learn good classical selling skills tied to recruiting. You will learn how to run your desk. There's Book More Business. There's a search and recruitment. There's Breakthrough and like one other, right? But it's the meat is there. If you can see through all the old stuff, the rebuttals on how to overcome objections, how to deal with clients, how to set your desk up, how to market, it's all there. And it's all MRI stuff that he just made better, packaged, add classical selling skills to it. So those two things right there, and whether it's next level exchange or Finkel, you follow his stuff, you're gonna, or one or the other, you will succeed. That is, there's no doubt in my mind. Breakthrough's $50. He just did one. It's called Breakthrough 2.0. It's $50. Go buy it. Read it from back to front. The rebuttals alone, you'll be able to use when someone says, I'm happy where I'm at. You'll be able to boom, 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 like I do. He's 7 or 8 of them in there. There's risk reward ratio is one of them. What do you got to lose? Yeah. Type rebuttals. I can't remember all of them off the top of the head, but yeah, I mean, that's good. If you can't get the MRI training, that's a good place to start where you can get it.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
And yeah, of course, Finkel's great. And people are going to say, I think, first in the pudding, man. It's 26 years. My worst year, I did 350,000. So.
And I mean, it goes back to the basics.
This was not rocket science, man. This is not rocket surgery, right? There's no tricks. The basics is what this is. And now you can get better and do certain things, but the basics of this job is what it is. There is no tricks to that.
So I want to ask another question, and I'm shifting gears a little bit.
Sure.
And this is kind of like, maybe a little bit on the personal side. Our industry attracts a lot of people like myself. I have ADHD. It has been a detriment, but it has also been a superpower. What advice would you give to other recruiters out there that are dealing with, certain levels of ADHD?
So I have severe ADHD. I'm on 60 milligrams of Adderall. When I worked at the MRI office, I didn't know I had ADHD because when I wasn't on the phone, someone snapped me upside the head. I get yelled at. I had a boss, right? went off my own, all of a sudden I'm sleeping in, I'm looking at boats to buy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I went to a therapist. But it's harnessing. There's a lot of great things about ADHD, right? We have a ton of energy. We can multitask, right? Harness that. Use the parts of the ADHD that you know will work, and then get medication or meditation, whatever it is, for the stuff that doesn't, right? The biggest thing is always the weapons of mass distraction, right? And that is, but what I do is I set myself the exact, I have, what I call little rewards. Like we have goals, right? Your goal is to do 400,000. If you do 400,000, you're going to buy a new Mercedes. That's a big goal most people would do, or I'm going to buy a new house or go on a trip or whatever, right? Set yourself out daily goals. I make 20 phone calls. I can go out, smoke a cigarette. I get a send out for that day. I can leave early. Right? The whole goal is one send out a day. You get one send out a day. At the average recruiter, new recruiters send out the placement ratio. We talk about send out the placement ratio. That is first time send out. The placement ratio is 10-1. You'll get 10 first time send outs, phone interviews, face-to-face interviews. You'll make a placement. So we used to say send out a day, 200K, right? Send out a day. It's 2 deals a month, $20,000 fee, 40 grand in billings, 480,000 on the commission rate dropped you to 200 plus in cash. So focus on that. Focus on getting one send out a day every single day, and you'll make more deals than you ever thought. My send out placement ratio is much lower now. It's 3-1, right? I get 3 first time send out. I usually make a deal. So if I did send out a day, right, but I'm lazy, I would do twice as much as I do. But put those goals together for yourself, whether it's 20 phone calls, a send out, a job order. All those are goals for the week. If you got 5 send outs for the week, half a day Friday, 20 phone calls, take a break. That's how you block out phone calls too. For those who say, I can't make 50 phone calls, you can make 10, can't you? Oh yeah. Take a break. They come back and make 10 more. Eventually you find out you'll make 10 and you'll have like 7 real good ones. You'll keep going. You won't take that break. Right? They always talk writers. Well, writers write 1 page a day in your book. 1 page a day, and you'll eventually get through it. But a lot of writers will start 1 page, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the same thing with recruiting. Start small, block it out. 50 phone calls means 10 phone calls, and then take a break. Go do something. Check your email, go on Facebook, play with your phone, but set those goals up, because if you don't, then the weapons of mass distraction will get to you, because you won't focus on what did I do, right? But if you say, okay, I have 10 numbers. Once you get to 10, time for a break. Come back, 10. And go see, I went and saw therapists. I got on Adderall. There's a lot of new drugs out there too that can help. For those who don't want to take drugs, I completely understand. There's a lot of other things you can do, but the key to me when I wasn't on the Adderall, when I first moved up here and was realizing the ADHD was getting me, that's what I started doing. I started blocking out things and giving myself little of rewards for the small things to keep my butt in my desk, in my chair, and make the phone calls. And that is probably the single biggest advice I could give to anybody, is reward yourself for the small things, not just for the 400 grand, but for the 10 phone calls to send out, the placement, the whatever. And you'll find your days go a lot quicker and are a lot more productive.
And that's definitely awesome advice, because like I said, ADHD can be a bit of a superpower, but there are days where you're just like scroll, 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 scroll. And real quick, for the listeners that don't have the MRI background, what does a send out? Is a send out a contract with a client, or is it like a submittal?
So a lot of little terms. So send out is, you've got a job where you're working on and you've recruited a candidate and your client's going to talk to them for the first time. That's a send out, right? So the idea was you make 50 phone calls a day before lunch, 50 after lunch. You're supposed to be getting job orders and getting candidates, right? And then you're supposed to get a send out a day. And you had 3 types of job orders. You had search assignments. Those are ones that you would move heaven and earth to fill. POJO, which means a presentation on existing job order. A POJO job order is kind of like that's out there. Maybe the salary is not right. Maybe it's a relocation. If you get a good candidate, you'll send them out. And then can't helps. Those are the ones that there's no way I can help you. And but sometimes can't help can turn into a POJO, and a POJO can turn into a search assignment. So you have to balance that. Like, don't get stuck in working on job orders that aren't good job orders just because they got job orders, right? You know, Norfolk, Nebraska, I was talking about that. If you're going to find somebody to move to Norfolk, that's going to kill you, but if you do get a guy who says, I'll move anywhere, now that Norfolk, Nebraska job order is a POJO. That can't help us now a POJO. And it's, so get those send get a job order, right? Client says, I will pay your fee if you bring me a bottle washer. That's a job order, right? A standout is finding someone that client will interview for that job. So that's what you're trying to get every day. You're trying to get a candidate in front of an employee for the first time. That's when we say first time send. That's a send out. Job orders don't count in terms of the send out means money, right? If you get 10 send outs, chances are you're going to make a placement. With the power of 3 too. 3 job orders with 3 candidates on all 3 job orders. That's 9 send outs, right? So if you have 3 job orders and you can get 3 candidates on each job order, the chances of you making a placement are pretty high. So that's the power of 3. We call that one. And it gets you 9 send outs, 3 job orders, 3, And yeah, people are going to say, oh, I can't even get 1. But I get it. But that's what you should be focusing on. Is going for that power of 3 and send out a day.
Awesome advice. Now, before we move over to the quickfire questions, is there anything else you want to share?
We went over a lot, giving back, where I started, getting the industry up and running. Did we talk about, engagement fees? I don't know if it's something that we can talk about or maybe another time that, when I talk about listing the industry up, get paid for your business. And you can always ask for a retainer. Every job order you take, ask for a $3,000 engagement fee. Why am I paying you a $3,000 engagement fee? Because we are going to scour God's green earth for every candidate in the tri-state area that fits this position. We're going to present you a list of them for you to go over, red line ones you know of, circle ones you think are great, and then we're going to go out and find them. You're paying us to do the search. And then when you hire someone, you're paying us 25% of the salary minus the $3,000. I don't want your $3,000. The $3,000 can't pay my mortgage. I want your 25,000. Right. And you can always go to contingency. If you can't sell them on the retainer, the engagement fee, you're always working on contingency. You can always flip and go, you know what? I see you have some apprehensions. We really want your business. We're going to do this one in contingency. And you can even say, but it's going to cost 30% because it is continuous because all of our engagement clients are 20. So it will save you a little money if you go engagement. Right? You always go back to contingency. You could always tell them, we really want your business. And but if you're not going to get the engagement fee if you don't ask every single time you get a job. A client on the phone is willing to give you a job. Just roll right into, and by the way, we'll do this on an engaged basis. I'm sure you want to do it on an engaged basis because you said how important it was, right? And then engagement. This is what we do. And you go through and tell them how the engaged basis is, right? And then they start giving it all. And you say, well, we can do it on contingency, but just so you know, you're going to when we find a candidate, we're going to send them to you. You're not going to get the list. And if that candidate's really good, he's going to go to you and your 3 other competitors because I got to make money. You're not guaranteeing me a hire. You want me to be invested in you. And this is we're working together. This is a relationship, right? We're going to do this together. We're going to fill your position. Let's do it on engagement. You want to work contingency? You want a transaction? We can do a transaction. But I know you don't want the people you sell your stuff to be a transaction. Why do you want me to be a transaction? Like I have a rebuttal for all that. That's why I bring up the accountant. You have 3 accountants? Why would you give the 3 recruiters? You got 3 accountants? Right? So ask, tell the new recruiters out there, old recruiters, ask for the engagement fee. You have nothing to lose. You can always work it on contingency. You're not going to lose the job order because you said you're rolling engagement fee. You just flip it and say, I really want your business for this one time. We'll do it on contingency. But they may say to you, hey, oh, of course. Yeah, we always work in engagement fee. Where do we send a check? What do you got to lose for saying, I want to work it on engagement fee? And they say, no. Okay, I'll work on contingency. It's that simple. But people aren't asking. People are afraid. Don't be afraid. That's another thing. When you call someone on the phone, they're only going to say a couple things. I'm not interested, happy where I'm at, or if it's a client, we don't pay fees, we don't have recruit. They're not going to say, I want pepperoni on my pizza. So what are you going to say back to them? Be prepared and don't be afraid. That's the mad or glad. I love messing with people. When someone says, we don't use recruiters. Oh, that's awesome. I go, what? I need sources. Dude, if you don't use recruiters, I don't know where I get people from. I'm writing you right down. This company's not using recruiters. I appreciate that, man. You're making my life easy. And what it comes down to, Ben, is there are two types of companies out there. There are clients and there are sources. And that's it. There are no friends. There are no buddies. There are no clients and sources. And that's it. Either a client or you're a source. When you tell me you don't ever pay fees and you don't recruiters, you are a source. And I tell you that. And that guy's going to be mad at me. He's going to remember who I am. Just like the guy who remembers me when I pull out the stuff about the football. That's the mad or glad. And you can do that on the phone. That helps you deal with the negativity. You can make an employer pissed. Some asshole, after you got hung up 4 times to get that guy screaming and yelling at you and he's 500 miles away. It makes me feel, I laugh my butt off. That's what you need to do. Those are the rewards I'm talking about, right? Little things like that make this job so much better. You're in control. It's you. This is yours. This is your domain. You're the king. They don't want to use recruiters. Guess what? You're a source now, buddy. So that's probably the only thing I forgot about that. And that's something I tell people all the time, don't take crap from anybody. Don't work on 10% job orders. Don't take crap. I'll ask for an answer. A no is better than nothing. Don't go like this. And maybe it'll happen. Kill the deal. Ask the questions. Get an answer. Will you pay my fee? Will you hire this guy? I don't want to hear we need to see more people. Either it's good now or he's push for that. Get a no is better than not knowing. I know you don't want to hear that. I know you want to think, oh, well, if I just do this, it might go together. No, you can't destroy a deal. There's nothing you can say to make a guy take a job or turn down a job if they're going to take it. There's nothing you can do with an employer, maybe, that he won't hire a candidate if he's the right guy. You can't control this. People are weird. We say stuff and do stuff. We lie. We change our mind. You can't control that. So get the answer now. Don't be wishing, is that deal going to go together on Monday? Find out on Friday. Call that employer and go, are you going to, look, man, this is going on long enough. Are you going to hire Steve or not? Well, we got 3 other guys interviewing we don't want to tell you about. Now you know. Don't be afraid to get the answers you don't want to hear. It'll make your life a lot better. A whole hell of a lot better.
Man, so much actionable advice. I love this. I absolutely love this. So, quick fire questions.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a brand new recruiter that's just now starting off in our industry?
Call anyone and ask for help. Anyone, everyone. Yeah. We're here to help you. Listen to your training. If you're a new recruiter, you start a company, fail our way first. I said it before. Listen to what your trainer says, do what he says, and you will succeed. I had no college degree. I'm a surf bum. I listened to what they said and I succeeded. If I can do it, you can do it.
What is your favorite beach to surf at?
Favorite beach? If I could surf anywhere, it would be Costa Rica or Nicaragua. Papoya in Nicaragua is really good. It breaks, pretty consistent. And then I'm a goofy foot, so probably Nasara, anywhere in Nasara, any of the beach breaks. Nasara, I'm old now. I don't want to surf anything big. My son wants me to take him to Skeleton Bay, which is this huge long left in Australia that breaks in super cold water. And pipeline, I can't handle. I'm fat and old now. So most likely Nicaragua, it's warm, 89 degrees, head high, a little overhead, mellow. I can pull into a couple barrels and have a good time. So probably Papoya in Nicaragua.
Okay. Head ass that. Went to high school in Cocoa Beach, so surfing was part of the community.
Hey, Sebastian Inlet goes off. I surf monster hole 20 foot during a hurricane swell. So yeah.
Oh man, hurricane seasons were the best.
Yeah.
Back to recruiting. What advice would you give to a recruiter that's been in the industry for a while, 5, 10, 20 years plus, that wants to keep on being successful or become successful?
Go back to those basics. If you're struggling, get back to those basics. Again, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with saying you're struggling and asking for help. We're all here to help each other. And I know that sounds redundant. I've said it a couple of times. I don't care how long you've been doing this. Call me up and, hey, Tom, I've been doing this 20 years. I'm struggling. Help me. What can I do? Don't be afraid to ask for help and get back to the basics. Do what Tiger Woods did and say, okay, I started like this. This is how I'm going to do it. And don't get too big of an ego that I can't make 50 phone calls. No, you can. And I know you don't want to, but to get back to those basics, you have to. To elevate yourself is ask to retainer, right? If you're working contingency, ask for engagement fee, ask for an exclusive, get whenever some client wants to take something from you, get something in return. We only pay 20%. Well, you got to pay them the day the guy starts, right? Get something in return. Don't give it away. Always ask for something in return, and usually they'll give it to you.
What is a book that has had a huge impact on your career?
Breakthrough. Stephen. Breakthrough. I mean, hands down, the best book for that has the most dramatic impact on my career today has been that book, Breakthrough by Stephen. If it was not for that book, I don't know if I'd be at the level I was at, just because so much I learned from it. 100% that book.
Awesome. What's your thoughts on artificial intelligence and the future of recruiting?
Absolutely fantastic, but it's not going to replace us. Just like Monster didn't, just like Career Builder did it. Don't be afraid of it. Most people don't even know what it is. My wife knows of it because I use it, but I think like 60% of the population, you ask them what Chat GPT is, they have no clue. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and use it. Get early on. If you got into Monster and Career Builder early on, you made huge money in fees. I use Chat GPT today to write job orders, right? Or write job descriptions. A company give me a crappy job description, enhance this for me, right? Or I'll help them enhance it. Makes me seem like a rock star. So embrace it. Don't worry it. It's not going to replace you. Don't even worry about that. If Monster Career Builder didn't replace us, AI ain't going to replace us.
Do you have a favorite tech tool that you use?
So I watched your podcast. You asked this, and Trish Campkins, One Tab, it's fantastic, right? And I can't copy that. So 2, AppSumo. If anybody doesn't know what AppSumo is not clearinghouse, a place where new developers bring stuff, right? And you get lifetime deals, $59, $69, $79, $89 for stuff that will end up becoming really good and paying $200 and $300 a month for, right? So Upticks, which is a really good email campaign tool, was on AppSumo for $79. And now it's $200 and $300 for it a month, and $79 lifetime. I know, so did I, right? So set aside $100 every month. And you have 2 months, 100% money back guarantee if you don't like it. What I do is I invest in it. If I think it's going to be good, like Claudora, I just bought Claudora. I think it's going to be good. I spent $69 or $59 on it. I get 2,000 lookups for phone numbers. I use it. I let people try it out. I'm gonna invest in it, thinking it'll do what Upticks did. I did the same thing with ClickReach and the same thing with Use Artemis. Use Artemis gave me 7,000 contacts, lookups, right? So those are 3 that I have right now. So AppSumo will allow you to try stuff out, gives you 2 months, money back guarantee, and invest in those things. What's $59, right? That's your Friday night bar tab. So stay home that night and buy an AppSumo app you think is going to be good and keep it. So just that one. And the other one was Brian Fink's CSE. That is a must have for everybody.
So I actually, if you want a good laugh, I'm an AppSumo junkie. I probably should return more things, but there's when you buy that thing and you use it constantly and you don't have to pay the monthly fee, it is the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah. It is. You're like, I save so much money on with Use Artemis, right? Because I use it, and it's $79 a month now, and it's hold on one second. What? Oh, it's $79 a month now if you want Use Artemis, and I got it for $69 or $59 lifetime. I get 7,000 credits each month, and they have a link. They just added a LinkedIn thing to it. Campaign. I don't know. I don't do campaigns, but yeah. So yes, AppSumo, love it. Love it.
There's one that I just picked up that I'm going to play with this weekend called View Leads, which uses AI. Like you could cut a video and then it uses a little bit of artificial
I
intelligence
saw that.
to customize it. And I think it's by the founders of the email tool Instantly. So it integrates in there.
Oh, wow. Did you see Jelly Reach? Jelly something?
Oh, I missed that one. No, I didn't. I missed that one.
Check it. It's up still, and it's similar to Claudora and Use Artemis, right?
Cool.
So I'm contemplating. I'm like, what am I going to do with 10,000 lookups, right? So
Awesome. Look, so over to your own personal success. Has there been anything that you can look back and say, like, this has contributed to your own personal success?
like my wife, obviously putting up with all the crap that I do and taking the huge risks and leaving for 3 months to start the business and all that. You know, that's number one. And then I guess the other thing would probably be, there was a quote, I don't know who said it. If you were the number one at whatever you do, you'll never have to worry about money, right? You're the number one bartender. You'll never have to, number one recruit. Doesn't matter. If you just try to be number one at whatever you do, you'll never have to worry about money. So I follow that. And then, the cliche was saying, right? Miss 100% of shots you never take. If I didn't take those chances, I wouldn't be successful today. Right. And it's scary, right? We go to school, we're not taught to be entrepreneurs. We're not taught to start our own businesses. We're taught to be employees. So taking those chances. And when I left that restaurant I was working at, I had the best beverage manager. I ordered the wine. I got to go on wine trips. I was the beverage manager and the bartender of a multi-million-dollar oceanfront restaurant in Vero Beach, Florida. When I quit, telling them I was going to do a headhunter, they were you crazy? You have the best job in town. $50,000 a year. Your days off. And I want more. Oh, you'll be a manager here one day. Yep, I'll never be an owner. Right. So it's, those type of things that I guess I contribute to my success. Following, be the best at what I can, be the number one. I am the number one recruiter in my niche. In my little niche here, there's nobody who's as good as me in my niche. And I take every shot, 100%.
Awesome. And this is my favorite question. Everything that you've gone through, the lessons you've learned, the ups and the downs, the downs and the ups. If you could go back and sit down with yourself at the very beginning of your career, have some coffee with yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
Honestly, non-compete is not that big a deal. Leave earlier. Besides that, man, I've had a great life. I've lived like a rock star, right? Maybe stupid stuff like don't buy that boat for $40,000, right? Stupid stuff like, but no, nothing. This is a great job. I've made a lot of money. I've had a blast. I don't work long hours. I get to see my kids. It is fantastic. The only thing I would say, hey, if I could sit down with myself right before I went to work for MRI, leave in 3 years. Once you've got this figured out, don't worry about that non-compete. Go off on your own. That would be the only thing. Other than that, no. I've jumped off mountains in Hawaii. I'm kidding. I jumped off a waterfall in Hawaii. I've laid on a hammock with my wife, snuggling, watching whales jump. Right. I've been into casinos of huge places in the Bahamas. I stayed at the Grand Wailea, one of the nicest hotels in the United States. And it's all because I'm a recruiter. So no, I wouldn't change anything.
Awesome. Well, this has been a phenomenal interview. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd love to share with the listeners?
Yeah. Again, my phone number, 772-532-9785. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll accept your connection. Come on Facebook, join the groups. Our Discord is called Headhunters and Recruiters Discord. Come to the roundtable. Come on to Reddit, the recruiting, to make it better, because there's a lot of crappy people in there. I'd love to see the recruiting Reddit get better. We're all in this together, and I'm there to help. I'm there to lift up, and reach out to me anytime. If I can take your call, I will. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, I will accept your connection. If you're a recruiter. Those sales guys, I don't want to borrow money. I don't need a business loan. I don't need my phone cleaned. I don't, none of that stuff.
We all get those. Well, man, this has been awesome. I cannot wait for this podcast to go live.
I really thank you very, very much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. I'm honored, to be on here. And I think it's fantastic what you're doing to the industry and giving back and allowing our industry to hear from some of the greats in our industry. You've interviewed some huge billers, guys that I've known, ex-MRI guys. And you're really doing a great job of giving back. Trisha Tampkins, I recommend that. Fantastic all the time. She brought stuff. She made me remember stuff I forgot. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate what you're doing for our industry.
Awesome. Well, man, can't wait to share this. And honestly, for the listeners, keep crushing it, guys.
Man, have a great day, man.
Right.